Hi, I'm Lexi. I stopped by my pregnant sister's house just to check in, no warning, no call, and I found her in labor on the floor, alone. No husband, no packed bag, no plan. She was shaking, whispering that it wasn't time yet because they told her not to make a fuss. While she screamed through contractions, her in-laws were on a wine tour, laughing, posting, toasting family legacy. I called them. You know what her mother-in-law said? That's what hospitals are for, aren't they? But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came later, when I found out they had already transferred her house, rewritten custody plans, and erased her name from her own story. You ever wonder what happens when someone finally says, enough because I didn't mean to become the problem? I just showed up. And I didn't leave? What would you have done? I hadn't planned to stop by that morning. It was one of those restless winter days in Savannah gray skies, the kind of chill that settles into your bones no matter how many layers you wear. I had just dropped off design samples for a client downtown and was driving through the tree-lined streets of Ardsley Park when something tugged at me. A weird feeling. Nothing dramatic, just heavy, like I needed to check on Isolde. She was due in 2 weeks. At least that's what she told me. Last time we talked, she brushed me off with that soft smile she always used when she didn't want me to worry. She said she was fine, said Dorian had everything under control, but something in her voice had been off, not scared, exactly, tired. I pulled into their driveway and noticed immediately how still everything was. No car, no sound. The grand White House looked picture perfect as always, but too perfect, like a showroom. I knocked once. No answer. I tried calling, but her phone rang from inside. That's when I stopped being polite. I walked in. The sound hit me first, not a scream. Not yet, just a low, strained groan, like someone trying to keep themselves from falling apart. Isa, I whispered, and raced upstairs. There she was on her knees beside the bed. One hand clutched the footboard, the other wrapped around her belly. Her face was pale, hair clinging to her temples, sweat beading down her jawline. I can't. I think it's time. She winced. Where's Dorian? I asked as I helped her ease onto the edge of the bed. She shook her head. Business brunch, she gasped. Vera said not to make a fuss if it started early. The words didn't register. I grabbed a towel from the bathroom rack, slid it under her, and helped her breathe through a contraction. My heart pounded like it was about to crack through my ribs. No sign of Dorian, no suitcase. No call place, just my sister, laboring alone in that perfect, curated home. I pulled out my phone and called Dorian. Straight to voicemail. I tried. Again. Still voicemail. I tried Vera. She answered, bright as ever, laughter and wind in the background. Lexi, she said. Vera, it's Isolde. She's in labor now. A pause, then. Well, she's not due yet. Are you sure? She's doubled over, breathing in counts of 5. Do you think she's joking? Vera sighed. All right. Call the hospital. That's what they're for, aren't they? Let us know when it's done. And then she hung up. I stared at the phone, numb. I wasn't expecting her to cry or rush over, but that was cruelty dipped in a southern accent and wrapped in pearls. I didn't say a word to Isolde, just bundled her coat around her shoulders, eased her into the back seat of my car, and drove like hell through the winding side streets toward Memorial Health. She kept whispering, "Don't tell Mom and Dad. Please, not yet." I nodded. I didn't ask why. I knew why. We pulled up to the ER. I called out for help, and within seconds, 2 nurses were wheeling her inside. I parked, ran in, and filled out every form they shoved in my face. Emergency contact. Me. Insurance. Hers. But under Dorian's name. He still hadn't called back. A nurse walked over. Are you her sister? Yes. She's in triage now. Your name's listed as primary contact. Just stay close. They'll move her to labor and delivery soon. I sat in that waiting chair, fingers clenched so hard around my phone they went white. A few feet away, a couple giggled with excitement. Balloons, a pink stuffed bear. A man held his partner's hand like it was sacred. And my sister? Upstairs with no one but me, a passing nurse muttered, "Poor thing. Feels like half these women give birth alone these days." She didn't mean for me to hear it, but I did, and suddenly something inside me stiffened. This wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a missed call or a bad day. This was normal for them, a choice deliberate, calculated. If I hadn't shown up this morning, would anyone have known? Would they have cared? I got up and walked out into the hallway. Fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead. My phone was still silent. I hovered over the contact labeled Dad, then Mom, but I couldn't do it. Not yet. Instead, I caught sight of my own reflection in the hospital's glass pane, hair messy, shirt wrinkled, eyes redrimmed but steady. Not yet, I whispered. The hallway smelled like bleach and overcooked coffee. I stayed still a moment, just breathing that sterile air, watching nurses shuffle by. I hadn't even noticed how tight my grip had become around the hospital cup in my hand. I loosened my fingers, refocused, and turned back toward Isolde's room. She was finally asleep, or at least pretending, breathing slow, arms loosely draped around the bundled baby beside her. I tiptoed to where her overnight bag was stashed near the closet. The nurses had handed it to me when we were admitted, saying it was by the front door, neatly packed, no signs of panic, just ready. It made no sense. I crouched beside it, thinking I'd find a phone charger or something comforting to unpack. A familiar scent rose from the folded clothes, lavender, probably her lotion, and then I saw it. A brown envelope tucked so precisely beneath a blouse it felt placed, not forgotten. Personal. Do not open. Of course I opened it. Inside was a folded scrap of paper, barely creased. It read, "Don't forget to bring that thing after the tour." Hide the brown envelope. No signature. No date, just that cryptic sentence, in handwriting I didn't recognize. I stared longer than I should have. Something about the wording felt calculated, like this had all been timed, planned. I folded the note back, tucked it in my coat pocket. Later, a nurse named Maris checked Isolde's vitals and asked, "You the sister?" I nodded. "She's got a strong baby there," Maris said, scribbling on her clipboard. "Honestly, I'm glad someone's here. She's always coming alone. We just assumed she was doing this solo." I blinked. That was a strange thing to feel, fury and heartbreak at the same time, like my stomach dropped and curled in on itself, trying to process what I'd just heard. I waited until Maris left, then pulled the chair close to Isolde's bedside. "Hey," I said softly, "do you know there was a note in your bag?" Isolde's eyes fluttered open. She looked groggy, but the moment I mentioned the note, she stiffened. "No," she whispered. I didn't pack it. Dorian said he would. He said he'd handle everything." I thought it was sweet. Her voice cracked. She tried to sit up, winced. "I just thought maybe he was trying," she said. "Trying to step up, you know." Finally, maybe I was being too emotional again. I leaned in. "That note, it's not nothing. It's weird. It sounds like they planned for you to be alone." She shook her head, eyes glistening. "No. I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't even know what's normal anymore. He handles everything, insurance, doctor stuff, pediatrician forms. He said I just needed to sign." My throat dried. I wanted to tell her how messed up that was, how wrong, but I also saw the look in her eyes. She knew. Deep down she knew. "This isn't miscommunication," I said quietly. "This is control." She turned away, biting her lip. I sat back, staring at the ceiling tiles. My mind drifted to Christmas years ago, when I was 13. Isolde had just turned 18 and brought a new boyfriend home. He never showed up to dinner after prom. She made excuses all night. Our parents scolded her. "Well, maybe don't be so demanding next time." Later that night, I asked her why she didn't seem more upset. "Because I can't afford to be loud," she said. "You can. They expect it from you." That stuck with me. And suddenly everything about today made too much sense. I was raised to stay out of things. She was raised to surrender to them, and Dorian was just the latest man to benefit from that. A soft cry from the bassinet broke my thoughts. I held to just pillows, felt the edge of the envelope in my coat pocket. I wasn't going to tell her yet. Not until I knew more.